to return for a landing. Lancaster, I cannot hear you with the wind.
5 people survived a small plane crash in Pennsylvania. So the Beechcraft Bonanza had just taken off from Lancaster Airport when the pilot radioed, as you just heard right there, that he had an open door and had to be able to come back. The plane crash landed in a retirement home parking lot, but did not hit the building or hurt anyone, thankfully, on the ground. The plane, though, the damage, several cars in the parking lot. You can be able to see the damage there, and also the crime scene tape up. Chief Transportation Correspondent and pilot May Beeler joining us here to talk about this. First, I mean, when you see the crash site there, I mean, just to be able to point out, when you see the smoke and the fire, I mean, it looks really bad, but what we know right now is everybody survived.
Right, and we're not sure about how bad the injuries are or how mild, but thank God everybody survived and nobody was hurt on the ground.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for that.
And you're very familiar with this aircraft. This is the
Yes.
Bonanza.
Right, so Beechcraft Bonanza, very popular aircraft. It's iconic, one of the most popular in the world, actually. I have flown it many, many times. It's a great airplane, fast airplane, retractable gear, high performance. This one has 6 seats. So I wonder what investigators are going to find out, because we heard that the pilot said the door had opened. This is notorious for Beechcraft Bonanzas. You need to close that door a certain way and twist it, otherwise it can't come open on takeoff. And we teach people, if the door comes open on takeoff, fly the plane normally, come back around and land and close it. Because some pilots can become distracted by that. But the pilot did say, according to the ATC tapes, I want to come back around and land. To close the door.
And what I want to ask you is, because one, you're familiar with this aircraft, but just how noisy it was, because we heard through air traffic control that the pilot said, I cannot hear what you're saying because of the wind.
Right. So when the door opens, it can only open about this much. It's not going to fly all the way open, only opens a couple inches, but it's noisy. You hear all that wind. I'm assuming the pilot did have a headset on, but still it's very noisy to hear. So the pilot now has a situation where he has to come back and land, focusing on that, hopefully isn't distracted by the open door. Is there a passenger sitting there that's freaking out? Again, the door can only open maybe this much. It can't fly out, but it scares people.
Has this happened to you?
Oh yeah, it has happened to me.
Really?
I think the last time it happened, I was taken off from Hilton Head with passengers, door opened, a passenger in the back, his glasses flew out over Hilton Head, said, don't worry, came back around and landed, closed the door and took off for the Bahamas. It has happened to me, and I teach this in the Beechcraft Bonanza. Make sure that door is closed. The pilot should close it. Don't let a passenger close it, because it's tricky. Not saying that the pilot did anything wrong. We don't know.
We don't know, and we can't speculate. This crash, though, happened shortly after takeoff.
Right.
So right now, what does it tell you, and what are investigators looking for?
Takeoff and landing is the worst time for something to happen, because you're so close to the ground. So that door opens right away. They're on the climb out. They've got to get to a safe altitude to enter the pattern, to come back around. They have to climb to 1,000 feet. When you're that low to the ground, bad things can happen. You have to keep the airplane under control. This was a very, very windy day. According to reports, the wind was right down the runway, but gusting to 32 miles an hour.
Wow.
So when that pilot turned what we call crosswind and downwind, could have had a situation where the wind played a role in perhaps this crash.
And I know we cannot speculate, but when you look at this crash and you've been able to do some research on this, what stands out to you?
I think the wind played a factor. I can't speculate. I do know that the BNTSB and the FAA will be looking into the environmental factors. Was the wind a factor? Of course we can fly in wind, but perhaps as the pilot turned around, the airplane did an aerodynamic stall, too steep of a turn, don't want to get in the weeds with everybody. We'll look at human elements. Was the pilot fatigued? Was the pilot on drugs? Was the pilot current with training? They'll interview the pilot. What happened? And again, what were the conditions of the airplane, mechanical issues? They'll look at the logbooks. A lot to look at to determine what contributed to this.
And as we know right now, everybody has survived. Again, we don't know what the injury reports look like, but it's just amazing right now when you look at that crash site and you're able to say everybody
waiting for an update, hoping everyone's okay. We'll see.
May Beeler, we appreciate your insight as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.